We'll be taking your calls in the next segment, but we start with the issue of foreign policy with our good friend. He is a former member of Congress for a couple of terms in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He, of course, is also running for Senate against Mr. Toomey, and he is, of course, Congressman Joe Sestak. Congressman, great to have you back on the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Jeff. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Well, we've been talking a lot about TPP, and we'll get to that a little bit later if we can. But I really am concerned about our foreign policy when it comes to the use of drones. Now, hear me out if you can, Congressman. I, like you, want a strong American defense. I don't believe that we should just lay down our arms and hope and pray for peace. But on the other hand, I believe that if we play with fire, and we have human intelligence everywhere because we're making deals everywhere, and that it's human American intelligence, CIA, DIA on the ground, that we risk lives. So a lot of people, including Vice President Biden and others, have championed this idea of drones. We all know that drones aren't perfect, and we saw what happened, I guess, back in January, when the intelligence said that this is where you need to go. And, of course, 2 Americans ended up getting killed, 1 American, 1 Italian. I worry about the reliance as we move to a new world over the next few years of this issue. And as somebody who has fought for this country, who understands this, a lot better than I do, tell me how we can get away from the idea that, that drones is going to be the future, and that we're going to be involved in so many different places to use drones: Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria. It just seems to me that this is getting out of control, and our footprint is out of control. All right, your view.
Jeff, actually, today's drones are really an extrapolation of what we've had for close to 2 decades. For example, a Tomahawk missile that would leave a destroyer and can go 1,000 miles actually has had years ago, a little television on the front of it where you could guide it its last little bit, just to make sure it was going to get very accurately where you wanted it to go. The belief has been that this is so much better than having a B-52 fly over and drop gravity bombs, that maybe 20 of those bombs somehow, like in Vietnam, might hit the right target. So my belief is that this utility of surgical strikes is of greater benefit for 2 reasons. It means that you can hit, from a military viewpoint, the target with high probability accurately. And number 2, it means that there can and should be, as compared to World War II, so much less collateral damage. So the real issue here is how good is the intelligence upon which you are making the decision. Presently, it's with high certainty, but I worked in the White House where the intelligence had to go to the president, and I came down to a conclusion that there is no such thing as a one-armed intelligence officer, because they're always saying on the one hand, but on the other hand,
right.
Intelligence is part of the fog of war. And, Jeff, it wasn't 5 years ago what the rules of engagement are today. They have truly improved them. And I think it's so regrettable what happened. But I don't think, if you believe that there is this global war of terror and that our military can't solve it, it won't. We can stop it for a while, but we can't solve it. It's the hearts and the minds of people, changing them, that will finally solve it. But if we are to keep them over there, not coming here, I believe better utility in a better way, but continuing to use drones is going to be a necessary vehicle of war.
Well, let me ask the question another way. I mean, okay, so it's technologically it's a better science than it was. Understandably, things improve. Okay, but the fact that we're involved in so many different places, and that we are the policeman, for lack of a better term, that is doing this, I just feel that it is just too much on our plate. And, I would like to have better intelligence. I'd like to have, more folks that are, spies, if you might, on the ground. But I don't want to risk more American lives, or for that matter, any lives of any citizen of the world. But I just think that there needs to be a better understanding that we can't be involved in all these places.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into, we don't have to, if we're going to use the drones, it's going to be in certain places that we need to be involved with, and that's it. And let's not sort of just, I'm not saying it's being done willy-nilly. I don't believe that. But I believe that there is something here that says, all right, well, we have these drones. Let's use them. This is the best technology we have. It saves other lives. We shouldn't be involved in this on every part of the Middle East, and for that matter, throughout the continent of Africa. It's just too much.
Part of this, Jeff, is truly what General Powell said when we went into Iraq. If you break it, you own it. And that tragic misadventure into Iraq left splinters laying around. One of the splinters groups is ISIL. I mean, this is a group of terrorists that have truly been born out of our going into that tragic war. And so now they have exponentially created havens for themselves in the various places and have alignments from around. So part of this was brought on by the misguided of the use of our military, in my frank opinion. Now, how do you deal with that? You're right. We cannot be everywhere. We have to raise the cost and the benefits of it. But would it have helped us better if we had, for example, had better intelligence to stop the underwear bomber from coming over here? Yeah. And I don't, laugh at it, but I laugh at this. We, in a sense, need intelligence. We had the intelligence to stop 9/11. It just wasn't brought together. Number two, you have to make a judgment. Is it worth a surgical strike somewhere to stop a planning cell from bringing havoc here? So I don't think we can say that we can't be in certain places we are now, because our war in Iraq brought us into these places. Number two, I strongly also believe that you're right. The military won't stop this problem. It just won't. Eventually, in Africa, for example, where we are now focused because of terrorist groups there, we have permitted some of these nations there, perhaps where there could have been more engagement by us, by our diplomacy, our economic prowess, not to have these groups that grew up to become and ravage their own nations there, in a sense, because there was no other type of choice for them to do. And so I know that's a reach, but that's why it's the other elements of our power, of our economy, our diplomacy, that really can matter and eventually bring about the better utility in more limited ways of our military.
Congressman Joe Sestak is our guest. We get a final minute here with him. Just to let you know, we have supporters of yours who want you to see you run for president. So I think you may want to be walking the country next. But there are a lot of supporters of yours, sir, and we thank you for your time today, and we thank you for your service. This is going to be a big fight with a lot of money, and if people want to help you become the next senator from Pennsylvania, how do they do so?
If anyone would go online to my website, and it's joesestak.com, joesestak.com, SESTAK, and either volunteer on the website or contribute. That would certainly be a way. And sweat equity is as important as monetary equity, I believe. That's why I walked 422 miles across Pennsylvania by foot, to let people know how I wanted to serve them.
Congressman, it's always great having you on the phone. Congressman Joe Sestak, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks. Jeff, have a great day up there.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, sir. It is the Jeff Santos Show, back with your calls after this timeout.